Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Curtains. As always, I am your host, Art Strong, and welcome to a milestone, 30 episodes. Wow, I can't believe it. I'm making this video specifically to address some concerns with the community and to answer a few questions on how we are doing things within the character generator and with the costumes themselves. So yeah, because there are quite a few people with a lot of questions and there is a little bit of clarity that's required for certain things. As you've noticed, the little slide I put at the beginning of the video, so yeah, take that to heart. Anything I say during these videos or anything I show is very prototype, very concept. Anything could change, and sometimes I missay things because half the time these are not scripted, so take that with a grain of salt as well. Okay, so the first thing I want to address is spandex and how it works, because a lot of people have been concerned about when I show off, let's say the Supergirl, for instance. People are concerned that that's a set and that you won't be able to separate the pieces. That's untrue. Okay, I need to get that right out. I show you a set because that's the set of me as I make it. As you can see by the screen in front of you, each one of these colors is where the UVs will get cut. So in other words, for panties, anybody, including myself, who is making spandex has to keep in mind these zones. So if I make a spandex outfit where it comes down and then goes over like this to make a bikini style, it's going to get cut off. So if you try to use, say, my shorts version spandex for Supergirl from the last video, and you try to replace the panties, it's going to look weird. So yeah, you can swap most things out, but some things are going to look really weird. Now, we try to be mindful when we're making costumes so that doesn't happen, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to have it 100%, you know. So there are going to be some costumes where you're going to need to be cognizant of that fact. So what I'm going to try to do on the pieces that I do is to try to keep these zones in mind a little bit better. I will show you in the next little bit. This video is basically going to be 2 sections, so I'm just kind of showing you how this. So this is how spandex works for us. Okay, the spandex layer. That's the other thing I want to talk about. Layers. When I say layers, I mean each section of the character generator will be layered on top of each other. So we have the skin layer, right, which is this and usually hands and feet. Okay, and then there's the spandex layer, which is skin tight stuff like gym shorts, panties, bras, gym suits, bathing suits, that sort of thing is on a spandex level. Now, what we can do in the way we have it set up in the generator is that anything that's considered black is transparent. So if I wanted her midsection to show, for instance, let's say I had a nice bathing suit here and I decided to make it into a bikini, I can make a version of it in the character generator and just paint out the midsection of her with black, and then her skin will show through. That's another easy way for us to make spandex costumes without actually having to make a huge amount of detail and changes. So if we go to my Supergirl here, I've made an alternate version where she's got shorts, or not shorts, she's got like a bathing suit type thing, because somebody had on the forums was a little concerned that because of I'm a very modest person. I don't like super sexy stuff. I'm one of those guys that likes a one-piece bathing suit over a bikini. Call it my upbringing, whatever you want to call it. That's just the way I like it. So when I make costumes, I have to fight that part of me to make stuff that I don't necessarily like or that I don't prefer to see, keeping in mind that other people are not like that. So forgive me for that. You're gonna have to be patient with that when it comes to my stuff. Now, I've made an alternate version, as you can see, where it's a bathing suit. Now, you're gonna notice there's some seaming here and some little bumps, if you notice, from the old shorts that used to be here. Now, when I get this into Substance Painter, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint all of this black, right? So you won't even see that. All you're gonna see is the parts that I've made. The other thing I wanted to discuss was, again, going back to the parts and how the layers work. So if I go in here, let's see, like each one of these is a part. So if I turn this off, okay, each one of these is a separate part that will be in the character generator by itself. It's not going to come into the character generator as a set like you see it. I make it as a set because it's easier to keep everything coherent and consistent that way, right? But once you get it into the character generator, they are separate pieces. So if you like the belt but don't like anything else, you can just go and find the belt. Okay, that was the other concern somebody had, was that they saw me making these sets and they're like, well, we're going to be forced to use them as a set. No, you guys, you're not going to have to do that. Each piece is separate. If you want just the boots from this set, you can have just the boots. If you want just the cape, you can have just the cape. You're not being forced to use the whole entire set, okay? The other question I had was, how many pieces are going to be in the game? To be honest, there's millions of combinations. Like, there's going to be so many pieces when we get close to launch. There's going to be so many pieces in the character generator that there's going to be millions and millions and millions of combinations. You're going to be able to make anything. For me right now, because of my limited time schedule, I am making sets as they're I have a list of priority of costumes. Like right now I'm doing a lot of NPC stuff, non-player stuff, because we need that for when we launch, right? We need the NPCs and the non-player characters to be able to have costumes. So right now that's what I'm doing. That's my priority. I do the super heroine thing, and I did the light combat armor mainly because I had a little extra spare time. But right now my priority is the NPC stuff. So that's all I'm doing right now. Once that has become not so much as a priority, and once I'm a full-time staff, then I'll have a lot more time to do extra costumes. I'll probably spend half my day working on NPC stuff, and then maybe the other half of the day working on non-NPC stuff. But like I said in my last video, this stuff takes a lot of time, especially the non-spandex stuff. Like stuff like this takes a lot of time, because that's the other thing what I want to explain. Each piece has two parts to it. Okay, so let's look at the belt here. I'm going to turn on lining so you can see. So this is a low poly version. Okay. And then what we do is I export this low poly out, and I export this high poly version out, which you can see the mesh is a lot more dense. I bring this into Substance Painter, and then I bake the high poly version to the low poly version. And then when I'm done sculpting, making my masks in Substance Painter, they get exported out as texture maps. And then those texture maps get added to the game inside the engine. And then those texture maps get applied to the low poly version. Okay. So the high poly, the only time we use the high poly version is to bake with. The high poly never is in the game. It's only the low poly version with the textures, because all these are texture maps, right? So if I turn off, I didn't want to do that. Let's go to something that's more. Let's do the character, because that's okay. So if I go in here just temporarily and I delete the normal, all of the height information disappears. Okay. Because that's the representation of the high poly mesh that's been baked into the low poly. Okay. That's the way we get around the performance hit that we would take as a MMO. Now, I'm not sure in regular, like a first-person shooter or whatever, if that's how they do it. I've never worked on a first-person shooter, so I don't know if they use the high poly or not. Just looking at my notes here. Okay, the other question. I'm going off my my YouTube comments. The other one was something to do with a paywall. There is no paywall, guys. Don't look at it that way. Basically, the way that we're setting it up is 99.9% of the costume pieces in entirety, maybe not including NPC stuff, but costumes in general, can be earned inside the game in some way through quests or whatever. But they will be in the cash shop for those who want to just buy them outright. So my understanding is 99.9% of the stuff that you see in the game, costume-wise, will be earnable somehow, but also can be bought in the cash shop. Now, when it comes to the other stuff like the powers, the animations, all that stuff, I have no clue about that stuff. I'm not involved in that part, so I don't know how that works. Okay. And yes, I am back with Missing Worlds Media part-time right now. I was just recently promoted to lead 3D, which is fantastic. I'm so honored that they gave me that promotion. So yes, you're going to see a lot more videos. You're going to see a lot more work. I'm still trying to find some work to help with bills at the house, but hey, that's another thing. But anyway, that's basically, I just wanted to cover some of those points because there was a lot of concern. The main concern was how many variations there was going to be to costumes. That was a very big discussion on the forum, and I'm going to try to do my best to try to make as many variations of these costumes as I can, because I know people like choice, and that's what this game is about. It's about customization. So that's why I made this version that has more like a gymnastics suit, right? You remember the old version with the shorts, right? So both of these will be in the character generator. So you can have shorts like this spandex could be a whole thing, right? There's what's her face from Invincible, Adam Eve. She wears a costume very similar to this. Looks very, very similar to this with the shorts. So I'm trying to give you guys choices. right? Okay, so that was the main concern. Now, I'm a very detail-oriented person. I love lots of detail in my costumes, hence why you see all detail in my costumes. That detail, there's an old saying in any kind of way when you talk about projects of any kind, whether it's cars, video games, whatever. The last 10% of a project takes 90% of the time. That's an old saying. So when it comes to details, that's the part that takes the longest. Making the costume takes hardly any time at all. The details take that extra 90% of the time. There's also the fact making the costume is one small part of the process of how this works. Because now I have to take these pieces, I have to go in and I have to look at all of the low poly and say, okay, is that low poly enough? Because right now this belt's sitting at 66 active points or polygons. That's too high. So now I'm going to have to go in and I'm going to lower this. I need to get this to probably around 1,000. Now to do that, it's going to wreck the silhouette of the belt. Which means when I try to bake the high poly to it, it might not work. So there's these little things that I have to tweak and move stuff around and get the silhouettes to line so that when I try to bake the high poly to the low poly, it actually works and looks good. So, and this is all part of the process, and it takes time, right? And then once I'm done that, I have to bring it into Substance Painter. I have to add any extra detail I want to do in there. I have to mask out all the areas, make them look good. And then everything has to be exported out. And then it has to go into the engine to test it. And see, that's something we haven't been doing lately. We haven't been putting stuff into the engine and testing it. I'm getting access to the actual build of the character generator. So now I'll be able to take this stuff once it's done, put it in the character generator and test it myself to make sure that it all works, that there's no clipping. Like for instance, with this costume, when I brought it into Substance Painter, I noticed that the because of the silhouette difference between the high poly version of this spandex and the low poly, there was clipping. Like the low poly was actually clipping through and it wasn't baking properly. So I had to go back into ZBrush and adjust everything, right? So it's touch and go. It's a process. But yeah, I think I've covered everything I want to cover. So yeah, if I've missed something, or there's something you want me to get into more detail about or elaborate more on, please comment down below and I will do my best to address it in a future video. But I want to thank all of my new subscribers. I picked up a bunch more since last video. I appreciate it. If you have any suggestions on videos you'd like to see, whether it's this stuff or a game you'd like to see me play, please comment below, because I'd like to put out a bunch more videos and I wanted to give you guys as much information as you can about the game, because I know there can be dry spells. I also want to say that the game it's coming along really well, guys. And your patience will be rewarded. Trust me. The stuff I've seen, even in prototype, is pretty amazing. So, yeah. Hang in there. It's coming. But I think that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And like, please. Share. For now, I think that'll be it. As always, may the hue be with you. We will see you next time. Bye for now.